Hi, welcome to the JCJ Interactive Web Development Process tutorial. The purpose of this tutorial is threefold. First, it's to help you set realistic expectations during the development of your website. Also, it's to establish a common set of terminology regarding each stage of the process. This will help us to better communicate with you about the current stage at any given time. And also, it's to answer frequently asked questions about our development process. Now here's a snapshot of the development stages of the site. We have a pre-designed questionnaire, a mock-up, storyboard and content, coding, and go live stage. Now let's review some of the details about each stage. Here's how each of the following slides is structured. We have the name of the stage at the top, the number of business days it will likely take, and then the actions that you and/or JCJ Interactive will take at each stage. First we have stage 1A, and this is the stage where you sign and return the proposal that we gave to you. And once we receive that proposal, we will send you a design questionnaire. You will fill out the design questionnaire, and that will include, for example, adjectives that you'll use to describe your new site as you see it in your mind, even examples of other websites you like, anything that gives us a better idea of what you're looking for, since there are literally millions of possible combinations for the design elements on your website. Once we receive that back from you, we will go ahead and begin the first draft of your design mock-up, and that brings us to stage 1B. Now the design mock-up is really going to look a lot like your final website. It's going to be the mock-up, if you will, of the look and feel of your site. It's not functional, it's really just a big image file. It's like a picture that you can't click on anything on the mock-up, and the content is not yet included, meaning it might just show a Latin filler content, for example. But it's not a working mock-up. It's not a working site at that point. The real goal of having this mock-up is to allow us to come to an agreement about how the site's going to look. And the reason why we have stages 1A and 1B is because during stage 1 there may be a number of revisions of the mock-up until we get it just the way you want it. So you'll tell us how you like the way it looks. You might ask us for some changes. We'll make those changes and give it back to you. And we'll do that as many times as needed, which is why you see this dotted arrow back to the design stage. We'll do it as many times as necessary until you like the way it looks. There's no additional charge for that at this point. Now, in stage 2, we have the submission of the content storyboard. In most cases, our clients' contracts state that the client must provide the content. So you would most likely be providing the content to us, and you would provide it in the form of this content storyboard, which is really a file template that we'll give you. And you'll fill that out, one bit of content, or one could be a paragraph or multiple paragraphs for each page of your website, and you'll submit that back to us, and then we can start creating the HTML prototype of your site. And the HTML prototype is a little bit more advanced than the design mockup. It's actually something you can click on. It'll show not only one page but multiple pages of your site. And it really is more and more like a working site, but it's not really a fully functional site yet. You'll review the mock-up and of course the HTML prototype, and you will, if you like what you see, and at this point there's not much that you would probably want to change because you've already approved the mock-up, but you still get a chance to review it just in case. And we will move forward at that point with stage 3, which is the coding phase. Now, with coding phase, there's really very little that you need to do. Coding at this point is actually creating the website itself, and it's creating using the web development or programming language that we're using for your site. And coding can take 5-10 days, even longer, depending on the complexity and the how many pages your site is and other details like that. But you can roughly say 5 to 10 business days for this stage. And once we complete the coding, you'll approve a final version of the site. And then we're at stage 4, which means we actually get to go live. Go live means we actually upload your site code to the hosting server. And the hosting server, for those of you who don't know, is just the place where your website lives and where it's able to gain access to the public internet so people can actually view it. And that takes about a day. We upload the site to the server and go live. And stage 5 is the most fun. This is where your site is live And some people don't have a stage 5. It depends on your contract with us, but for some contracts we have an ongoing support of your site. Either way, though, at stage 5 your site is live and you're ready to go. So that's our development process. Here's a couple of questions that are frequently asked to us. The first one is, why would I be asked to provide JCJ Interactive with information about my design preferences before the project begins? Isn't that the job of JCJ Interactive? And our common response to this is, well, we feel our job is to implement your vision. We believe that you have a feeling for how your site should look. Of course, we're very happy to provide creative direction and ideas, but ultimately this is your website, not ours, and we want it to look the way you would want it to look. So the more hints you can give us about the way your site should look, it could be in the form of adjectives or descriptive phrases. You can even give us, as we said earlier, examples of other websites that you like, just to give us an idea of the kind of look and feel you want. And that's why we ask for that input, and we do that in terms of the design questionnaire. Now, another question we get asked is, under what circumstances would my project's total turnaround time exceed the initially promised time? And the answer is, your target completion date is going to stay pretty firm. The only reason it might be pushed back is if, for example, you take a few days or a week or more to get back to us when we send you a request for approval or a request for input at any given stage. So if you do take a longer time, or for example during the mock-up stage, stage 1, as we mentioned earlier, this can be multiple rounds of revisions depending on how many times you want us to update that mock-up until it gets to the way you want it. So if stage 1 and 1A and 1B take a while, that can of course push back the completion date. Next question we often get is, how quickly do I need to get back to you with my approvals or revision requests? And again, kind of touching upon that point again, you want to get it back to us as quickly as possible to make sure we don't push back your completion date. However, feel free to take as long as you like, and it's obviously important that you take enough time so that you can give us the kind of details that we need to faithfully implement your requests. So obviously you don't want to rush it, or if there are certain key people in your organization that need to look at the site as it is at that point, or the mock-up, then that's important that you let them see it, of course, and so that we get one final set of requests for update at that point. Question 4, who will create the content for my site? And in most cases, the content is not included in your contract unless it's otherwise specified. We believe our clients are most suited to create their own content unless we contract to do so with one of our professional writers. But most likely your content is not included. In that case, we will provide you, as we mentioned, with a content storyboard file, which is a common file format like PowerPoint or Word or whatever. We'll put it in a format that we make sure you can read on your computer, and you'll actually enter the content into that file and get it back to us, and it will be broken up into different pages of your site, so we'll know exactly where to put that content when we get that file back. And the last question, will I ever be charged for additional changes to my site? And I touched upon this a little bit earlier, but it's very rare that a project has any additional charges once the project has started and the proposal or the quotation have been signed off. The only exception to that is if we're into the coding phase or even the HTML prototype stage, which would be stages 2 or 3, and you ask for changes. Very small changes often can be honored without any additional charges, but usually that's why we have the mock-up stage, is to allow those changes to occur. During the mock-up stage, you can make as many changes as you like with no additional charges. But once we've entered stage 2, the prototyping stage, almost any change you request of any substantive nature is probably going to have an additional charge. We will never charge you even a penny extra without getting your prior written agreement and approval. And now when we refer to a certain stage, when we're talking to you on the phone or in emails, you'll know exactly what stage we're at, and you can refer back to this presentation if you have any questions about where we are now in the process. And if you do have any additional questions, feel free to visit us at jcjinteractive.com or call 512-310-7837.